Today, we're breaking down a question we've all probably asked ourselves at some point. Is school actually preparing kids for the real world? For decades now, we've seen this really concerning disconnect between what's being taught in traditional classrooms and what the modern job market actually demands. And for millions of students, this isn't just some theoretical debate. It's a massive, real-life roadblock to their future. And you know, the numbers really don't lie. 60%. Back in 2013 in Mexico, nearly 60% of jobs were in the informal economy. That's a huge deal. It means the vast majority of people, especially young folks who haven't finished basic or secondary education, are ending up in jobs with zero protection, no benefits, and absolutely no room for growth. This harsh reality is exactly why we desperately need educational reform across Latin America. We simply can't keep teaching for a world that just doesn't exist anymore. So that's exactly why in today's Explainer, we're diving into a fascinating academic study all about technical and vocational education in Latin America. We're going to see how different countries in the region are completely transforming secondary technical education. It's no longer just a second-tier option for kids who aren't going to college. It's becoming a true engine for local development and innovation. To keep things simple, we've broken this journey down into 5 stops. 1. The labor challenge. 2. Learning by working. 3. Fostering entrepreneurs. 4. Innovative reforms. And 5. Keys to the educational future. Let's jump right in. Section 1. The labor challenge. To really understand the solution, we first need to get a clear picture of the historical problem plaguing the region's school systems. Historically, Latin America split students down 2 parallel tracks. On one side, you had academic secondary education, which was all theory, strictly focused on getting kids into a university. And on the other side, you had technical education, which was built to just plug a kid straight into a job immediately. The catch? For a ton of vulnerable youth, high school is literally their final educational stop. If they only receive general academics, they hit the job market with absolutely zero practical tools. What we're realizing now is that we need a middle ground, schools that build thoughtful citizens but also integrate real-world working skills. Moving on to Section 2, Learning by Working. This is where theory finally meets practice, and Chile is showing us some incredibly spectacular results here. Chile rolled out this super successful method called the dual approach. So instead of being stuck inside a classroom all day like the traditional academic path, 3rd and 4th year students actually alternate. One week they're in school, and the next week they are working inside real companies. We're talking about kids in places like Puamolín or Nuño, stepping directly into industries like metalworking or food production. And the coolest part? They aren't just using state-of-the-art equipment that their schools could never afford. They are actually getting paid. They earn anywhere from $20 to $400 a month, all while still in high school. Now, you might be wondering, if you link them up with a job that early, won't they just settle for that gig right after graduation? Actually, it's the exact opposite. The research shows that in Valparaiso and Ñuñoa, only 10% of these students look for immediate employment when they finish. The vast majority get so motivated by this real-world experience that they decide to transition into higher education. It turns out hands-on work didn't cap their aspirations, it totally amplified them. Section 3. Fostering entrepreneurs. Because the modern goal isn't just creating qualified workers for someone else to hire, it's about raising the creators of future jobs. Tackling this is a huge methodological challenge, but Brazil took a really fascinating route. Through a program called ProNatec, partnered with Sebrae, they decided that to teach kids to be entrepreneurs, they had to start by training the teachers first. They took 203 teachers and put them through an intense 400-hour course. But here is the absolute game changer. Step 2 wasn't just about reading balance sheets. It was about making teachers deeply understand the social vulnerability of their students. Because if a teacher actually gets the tough realities a kid faces, they can teach them to innovate and use business as a real tool to transform their environment, rather than just teaching some corporate theory. While Brazil focused heavily on teacher training, Bolivia gives us this amazing perspective from the local municipal level. Down in La Paz, the local government realized they couldn't just wait around for the national government to fix things. So they stepped up and built a massive ecosystem. They launched an entrepreneurial culture contest, set up tech innovation centers for high-end jewelry and ceramics, and opened up the House of the Entrepreneur. But arguably the most impactful program was My First Job. The city directly hired street youth to do urban maintenance, giving them their very first dignified job opportunity. It's just a perfect match of aligning human capital with actual community demands. Section 4. Innovative reforms. These local efforts are awesome, but for permanent, systemic change, we have to look at how these ideas scale across the continent. When we compare national strategies, we see some real heavy hitters. Costa Rica integrated bilingualism and tech skills right into their technical model to meet the demands of a nation that is leading in services and innovation today. Then you have Colombia, which tackled the educational ceiling by making technical high school credits valid for university. So now kids can learn a trade without giving up their shot at a degree later on. But get a load of Paraguay's Volcano project. They have a huge rural population and massive geographic hurdles. So rather than making students come to the school, they use a system of mobile workshops. They literally put technical education in arts, IT, and electricity on wheels, driving it right into rural areas and marginalized urban neighborhoods. Of course, rolling out deep reforms can be super risky if you do it wrong. Uruguay shows us exactly how to mitigate that risk. They completely overhauled their upper secondary curriculum, but instead of forcing the whole country to change on the exact same day, they did it in phases. They started back in 2003 with just 17 educational centers. By 2004, they expanded to 52. This gradual timeline allowed for a continuous cycle of evaluation. They could see what worked, help teachers adapt without totally overwhelming them, adjust student assessments in real time, and correct course as they went. It's a great reminder that true innovation takes patience and constant feedback. Section 5. Keys to the Educational Future. So after evaluating all these incredible cases, where should the region be heading next? The authors of the study reached a really crucial conclusion, and I absolutely love their takeaway here. They argue that traditional technical degrees need to incorporate environmental aspects across the board to create a new sustainable approach. Basically, training a master builder just isn't enough anymore. We need to be training sustainable master builders. Technical education is literally the perfect place to weave in environmental solutions, making sure that the economic development these young folks lead is a development that won't end up destroying their own backyards. And that brings our explainer to a close. We've looked at paid internships, literal schools on wheels, empathy training for teachers, and high-tech bilingual programs. But the big question I want to leave you with today isn't about Brazil or Chile or Paraguay. It's about your own community. Think about your city, the schools in your neighborhood. Are they just prepping kids to pass multiple choice tests, or are they actually handing them the practical tools and the entrepreneurial mindset they need to go out and shape their own reality? The knowledge is out there. The real challenge is getting it into our classrooms. Keep learning, stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next one.